Welcome everybody to another edition of myStartUp.Live. I'm Kevin Allen. We're broadcasting to you from Irvine, California here in August. And I have a guest with me from Chapman University Launch Labs. He is a new startup operating out of the Launch Labs, and his name is Dominic Milan. Dominic?
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you, Dominic, for coming down to the Applebox network and participating in myStartUp.Live. myStartUp.Live is about interviewing CEOs and founders of new startup ventures. We are out of Orange County, but we are obviously national in that we live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms. And Dominic has a business which is called Vendyr. Let's get a quick summary of Vendyr for the audience.
So Vendyr is an online marketplace that allows people to plan parties and vendors to gain their customers. Instead of having these customer generation engines, what we're doing is bringing them customers directly. So similar to Amazon, Airbnb, you're going to be going on our platform, you're going to be shopping different vendors for your party, your event, whatever it may be, putting in your cart and paying it all at once. So the biggest issue, right, is planning these parties, planning these events takes a long time. It takes time, it takes money, and it's hard to compare prices. We just planned a party recently, and the biggest thing that people, when I always ask them, every time I hear someone say, I planned a party or I go to a party, I'll always go up to the host and say, tell me how you did it. Like, tell me, break it down, what did you go through, what websites did you check out, and how many calls did you make? And every time when they want a specific service, they're calling multiple people. So we're trying to go and solve that issue.
And you're talking about parties of sort of all different levels, from even a small house party to something of a nonprofit, if they're doing a charity ball of something, and even high school, municipalities, etc.
Yeah, so initially, because we want to start small, we're going to be targeting those house parties, children's birthday parties specifically, because there's not too much involved with that and not as much room for error. But we do want to evolve to the point where we see ourselves in 5 years saying, I can plan a Coachella on that platform, where we have these automatic systems in place where if you were to reach a certain amount of tickets sold, because you'll be able to sell tickets, it'll say, you know, now you need insurance, now you need security. And we want to have all that built into the point where we can crowdfund events. And there's people who do that, but no one's solving the real issue of planning the whole thing, right? Eventbrite, you can put tickets for sales, but you can't actually plan the whole thing and put up the money, which is the hard part.
That's right.
And we want to go out and solve that issue later on.
So before we get into obviously your tech and your solution you're offering, let's learn a little bit about Launch Labs and how you got involved in that. You were a Chapman student?
I'm a graduate student right now at Chapman University. I've been involved with the Launch Labs for about a year and a half now. I first got in there about a year and a half when I got the idea, which is actually how I got the idea. I ran into someone at Launch Labs doing a tour of a different company I was applying for. That company I was kind of backing out because I had a cousin of mine who does tech, kind of tore me up about it. My first kind of like having a mentor kind of tear me up on the idea. And so we were still kind of applying to the Launch Labs. I walked in and ended up talking to someone and coming up with the idea on the spot. So I've been at the university now for about 3 years. I'm doing the graduate program for international relations, which doesn't apply at all to this type of tech startup, but it's very helpful in terms of the global scale.
So what is the innovation, the Launch Labs brought to you in terms of support, in terms of, for those startups that are out there that are looking to sort of get into an incubator, what value does it bring to you?
So I've been involved in a few different incubators, and I've definitely learned a lot. There's different ranks, I'd say. Launch Labs is more of the lean back, kind of let you do what you need to do, and they give you the awesome space, they give you access to mentors. And the biggest thing you're going to find at a Chapman type of incubator is they're going to narrow it down and help you get ready to actually launch this business. They're going to kind of help you mold the company, put you in touch with mentors who are just, going to tear you apart and going to kind of refine your business. But let's say at the Cove, which we were at just about a year ago, they're going to kind of help you walk through more of the process. So it depends. Different incubators get different funding, obviously. UCI does it, I believe, through their actual investments. They make money. With Chapman, we all do it through donations. So at Chapman, everything's done through donations, so we're not as big of a scale as UCI.
So who's donating in this case? The student body or also the community?
The community. Okay. The community, the donors. So it all depends on those donations. for Chapman. So the biggest thing you'll find at Chapman is awesome space and an awesome community of people. I honestly find that I learn more from different companies there launching, whether they're above me or behind me, than I do from mentors, just because you see
Give me an example of something that sort of you found through this community network at Launch Labs, in terms of a process or an idea.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I learned, especially from me, so I have no business background. I've always started companies, but no business background. And when I got in there, I didn't know anything about investors. And they're all going to quickly kind of tell you their experiences with investors. So I remember they all kind of gave me their feedback. They were all coming back from this one investor, and everyone was pitching to him because he was very accessible, and everyone would tell me what he tore them up about. So I just listened to everyone. I was like, okay, well, I don't know any of this, so I'm going to listen, and I'm just going to put that in my pitch deck. And I went to pitch to him, and I remember the first thing he said was, "That's the best pitch I've seen from a startup at your stage." And he's like, "Who'd you talk to? You obviously said every single thing that I need." And I just kind of laughed. I said, "No, I just know this stuff, because I just listen to everyone make their mistakes."
Sure.
And so I think my biggest thing in life is I don't like listening to people's successes because they don't help me. I like to listen to their failures and learn from it. So I just listened to everyone who made their mistakes and used it, and it worked.
So, to avoid making your own mistakes, the goal is to, hear from as many of those peers as possible that have already done that.
Yeah. I don't think hearing people's successes.
Perfect your approach.
Yeah, I don't think hearing people's successes help you very much because
maybe motivates you.
Yeah, it'll motivate you, but I always tell people like, okay, that guy posted a video, it goes viral, he makes millions. Is that what's going to happen to you? No, that's probably not what's going to happen. You want to know the things he messed up on because that will always be wrong. And when you have someone's success, it just doesn't mean anything to me. I'll always listen and kind of take what I can. But I feel like since every person's situation is different, it's really hard. But when someone says, I failed because of this guy wants this, well, he's not going to change his mind. That's what they want, so you got to give it to them. And so it's much more productive for me to hear what they messed up on. And I've learned a lot from that because you'll learn quickly and then you'll adjust. And you'll be surprised how excited those people will be when you come to them, and they'll always go, every other company does this.
And I think maybe to the same point, maybe sharing your failures with obviously your community members and your peers is going to help them too. And you feel that satisfaction of giving back to the community. And I really want to promote this. I want to encourage this about all the entrepreneurs and startups that are out there is do share your experience because, maybe it's not your technology or your proprietary information, but anything that you've learned is helpful to others in your space, in your same space.
Yeah, that's really, really important. I always get phone calls and they'll say like, how'd you do this? Like, what did you mess up on? I'm like, I made a huge mistake here, just don't do that, and everything else you'll kind of, it depends on your company. But startups are really, really hard to work with just because everyone is unique. It's so hard, but the biggest thing is I think mistakes really do translate.
So walk me through your day-to-day, so to speak, or your week. You're at Launch Labs. You're developing technology, so you have a development team.
Yeah, so we have two different offices. One's in Tustin, one's at Launch Labs.
Okay.
We just kind of pivoted to this newer office that we got. It's kind of a bigger office. We have 14 people right now, and the rooms are kind of small at Chapman. They fit about 5. So we're like, okay, we've got too big. We need to expand. So there's about 14 of us. We have 12 developers and then 11 developers and then 3 upper staff.
So you're developing locally as
yes.
well. You're not outsourcing your development.
No.
You want to keep it in your team, core team, and they're all employees. They're team members. They're vested in your
correct.
enterprise.
Yeah, and we did the overseas thing, and those are the mistakes that I made. I said, here's the money, build it, and you don't really know what's going on.
Translation issues.
No oversight, especially if you don't have a CTO at that time, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to raise money and go buy developers to build this. You don't know what they're building. You don't know if it's scalable. You don't know any of that. And
so you don't even know the language necessarily they're using or the architecture or what have you. And I'm not even a programmer myself. So.
Yeah. No, and it's a big issue.
So you have a co-founder.
Correct.
Talk to us about your co-founder and how that relationship goes.
Yeah. So how this actually started was I was telling my friend about this idea right in the beginning, and I was in launch labs, I believe at that time, for it. And I was just telling my friend, I was like, I have this idea, this is what I want to do, I'm trying to get this involved. And he was actually sitting down and eating in the cafeteria next to me, and we actually ran into each other a week before. He had a big beard, and I was walking through campus. I said, I feel so old, I'm about 24, and all these people are like 18, 19, and this guy just turns to me and says, you feel old, I'm 31. And I started laughing, and then I said, well, your beard kind of hides it, whatever. And so I was eating, and he had shaved, and so he turned to me and he goes, I really like your idea. Do you remember me? And I was like, no. He's like, Will, big beard guy. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, yeah, it's nice to meet you. And then he started talking to me, and he goes, look, I have money, I have this, I want to put in, this sounds awesome. And he joined, and we started moving from there. Okay,
so he brought a little bit of financial support as well as his own knowledge base. What's his background then?
So he was in the Navy for 5.5 years roughly, and he did creating teams, managing teams for high stress situations, which 100% as a COO is perfect for us.
Perfect.
I don't think we're going to encounter anything as high stress, which is good, but it's really helpful for our structure of our company. That's why I arrived so early, right? This is the 15, 30 minutes early, we got to do that. And so it really does help bring the structure.
Sure.
And since I'm the fun, not organized kind of person, and he's the exact opposite, it really brings a really perfect balance to our team.
Yep.
It's really, really helpful to have that.
And that's
balance.
really important as well, is just finding a partner that really complements you in a way that you're filling a gap in your own capability or personality or what have you, and it's a perfect marriage in that sense. So, so how long have you been at this venture, Vendyr? And why don't we spell it just for the audience?
Vendyr.
Okay, so we go the startup route, which is misspell everything because who cares, right?
Yeah.
So Vendyr, tell me about how long you've been at it, and what's your let's say future timeline?
Yeah. So I started this about 1.5 years ago. Like I said, I was walking to the launch labs, and some gentleman came up and he said, how can I help you? You're looking around. And I said, well, we have a company, I'm looking here. And he starts telling me about his startup. And what they did is they helped people go to restaurants, big groups, and eat there, but raise money for their group. And I was like, why don't you guys help them do the events? And he was like, well, we don't really do that. And I said, oh, well, because I am. And I kind of just made it up on the spot and just kept talking, and I kept saying, hey, so what we do is we help people plan events. And it
so fake it till you make it.
Yeah, you fake it till you make it. And I had my friend with me who was with my company and with the previous company. And the reason why that kind of came to mind is about 2-3 weeks before, I was trying to throw my own event, sell tickets for photography, and it was just so difficult. I mean, I took a month. I couldn't even get anywhere, and I was just fed up with it. So it kind of was there at the back of my head, and when he said that, I was like, wait, why isn't there a way to help you plan the party? And so I told him, I said, yeah, I've been working on this for a while. I completely lied. I was like, I don't want anyone to take this. I think this is an awesome idea. I went home, I started doing research, and there was nothing out there. There was absolutely nothing out there.
You found no competitors.
Nothing out there. There's all these different pieces that will solve one part of it, but nothing that would
brings it
help
all
you.
together.
Yeah, and not even anything that would help you in the significant part, which is ordering from people. The closest thing you'd get is a Yelp, and I don't believe that really helps you. You're still having to call them,
it's
email
time-consuming.
them. Correct, and that's the biggest thing we're trying to solve. I don't think we're going to be able to lower costs very much. There will be some competitiveness, but it's not going to solve it.
It might actually be technically, in some cases, a little bit more expensive, but you're going to save a bunch of time.
Yeah, and so so where we're at right now is we have our 14-person team, about 11, 12 developers we're always adding and shifting. And we're about 80% through the process. So we've basically wanted to tackle this in a really unique way. My background is my undergrad is philosophy and political science. So I like to kind of think things out.
And then international studies
and international
MBA.
grad, yeah. And so I wanted to kind of think long term and figure out different ways that we can solve this. So since this is going to take, let's say, about 1 year to build out, and this was a few months back, I said, well, we have to have something to show. So how can we structure this to where in 6 months we have something and have numbers?
Fast track.
Yeah.
So sort of bootstrapping it and fast tracking it.
Yeah, and so I was like, there has to be a way where we can basically show the investors something, because up until day 1 to 1 year from now, in between that we show nothing because we can't show them half a finished product. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
So what we decided to go out and do is build a vendor, or what we say a company app, a CRM system for the businesses. The biggest struggle that we were finding is how do we know what different items are available on what days? So if you have a bounce house company and you have bounce houses, how do we know where they are and what's available? Right. Because we're not going to really solve
One's being repaired, for example, it's in the shop.
Yeah, or someone's using it, and how do we know if someone goes to buy it from you, we're just wasting them just as much time by them going, okay, well,
and they're depending on it to come, and then it's not going to come because it's not there.
Yeah, so what we decided to do is we built an app, and that's about pretty much what we're finished with now. We're doing some tweaks, and it's in beta, but we'll be launching next week. And what we're doing is building an app that allows these businesses to organize everything. So it's basically a CRM system that's completely free, and it's dedicated towards their industry.
So this app basically serves yourself as a business vendor, as well as the suppliers of all these, party tools, party elements.
Correct, and it's a way for us to get in their pocket, get in, have conversations with them, learn about them, and have live inventory on them. Right. So what we say is, look, use the app. We'll push you more often if you do. And now we know where all of your products are. So we'll help you sell those ones that you aren't selling. Right. And so we know we've talked to some, and we'll have some people who say, I'm already using an app or this and that, and we have all these different basically safes in place to make sure that, worst case, it's okay if they don't use it. But we're telling them, look, the more you use it, the better off you are, the better off we're going to be, and the better off, the more customers you're going to get. So
I know you kind of already answered this, but this is a question I'd love to ask is, what makes your product so different than, any other tool that's out there? And I know you kind of described that there's nothing else like it. So what does it do that just really is unique?
So at the time, there was really nothing else like it. Now they're starting to become, but again, they're not tackling the same issue. So what's unique about us is we're having people from start to finish plan and pay for their parties. With other competitors that are starting to pop up, there's one called Party on Demand. They're winning amazing competitions. The CEO is an amazing guy. I mean, he's a really good speaker, and he's winning all these competitions for his pitch. The biggest thing is he's trying to sell you on decorations and sell you on a party within 1 hour. That's just not us. We're not. We're not.
It's kind of like party in a truck.
It's party in a truck, and that's exactly what it is. And for us, it's not scalable. I think they also deliver things to you personally, and we believe that's just not scalable.
It's too, in your opinion,
it's labor
it's
heavy.
Too owning it versus offering it as a service. Or really a network.
Correct.
I mean,
and they can't scale. So the biggest thing is if they're shipping things to you in 1 hour, they're dealing with shipping, they're dealing with inventory, it's just too much. Right. And the other competitor is early stage, and his startup is basically same thing, same idea, but you don't get to choose. You just say, I want a DJ, and you pay. Right. And we don't believe customers want that. When you're planning your birthday party or planning a party,
you want a choice.
You want a choice, and not even one choice. You want to know who.
Right.
Who's, especially if it's a kid's birthday party, who's coming to my house? Do you want me to just order a clown, not know what type of clown, or a bounce house? What type of bounce house?
Right. Is it safe? Is it large enough? Et cetera.
And people know what they want. So with us, we're bringing them an entire marketplace where they're free to shop and do what they want, and that allows us uniquely to scale day one everywhere. And we're going to be starting small, but if it goes viral, and it can keep up with itself.
Right. And you actually have a background in viral videos.
Yeah. That's something that I've been doing for a while. I'll work with different content creators on YouTube. And we always kind of create content, videos, pictures, and I've been working with them for a long time. So I'm in that niche, and at least we're preparing. That's why we're kind of in we built it the way we did, is because we're ready for virality. We're ready to take on whatever, because the biggest thing is so many companies fail when they go viral.
Yeah.
And it's very, very
because they're not ready for it.
They're not ready. And I didn't know this. Some of my cousin has the food company, foodbeast.com. And he was telling me, sometimes these big companies will pick up brands and say, we'll take 10%, we'll do your marketing. And I was like, wow, why don't brands do that all the time? He goes, well, these guys, they did it recently, and they did it with a candy bar, I believe. They got so many orders, they collapsed the company. And I thought that was ridiculous. I don't even understand inventory like that.
Because the perception is everything. And if you're out there and someone's trying to get your product, they can't get it, or it's, not good quality yet to their expectation, you're going to
collapse it. So it's very hard to scale that fast, and so we wanted to basically have everything in place just for the possibility that happens.
So you fast-tracked this first part of it, which was the CRM solution that you want to present to investors. Have you presented any investors yet?
So we've presented to tons of investors throughout the stages, because I believe no matter what, although we want to wait till we have something, it's always good to pitch, because it kind of gets their mind. Yeah, it's a practice. They're never going to say, never come back to me. Unless you're going to yell at them, they're going to say, okay, come back. And what I think is really important is if they meet you early on and they see where you've gotten, that's really important.
You can demonstrate to them that you can show progress.
Yeah,
you have that mentality of growth.
Yeah, and that's really important. So I always tell my team members, even if we're a week away from something, I'll say, it doesn't matter matter, we'll meet with them this week because we get to show them this way, and then in a week we show them something we've done.
Right.
And that's really important.
So have you been invested in yet by any of these businesses?
So everything's through myself. Everything's
Okay.
funded through myself. At 19, I got into the stock market. Again, I've always wanted to make money, and that's what I did since I was a kid. And I ended up hitting it really, really big. And
That is definitely a lot of luck and a little bit of knowledge.
yeah, it's a lot of luck. And I did that for a while, and I ended up starting to collect classic cars. And at that time, I had no business ideas or anything. And so by the time this came about, all I had was all my cars. So I said, okay, it's time to sell them. So I started selling them and using that money to kind of fund
Painful.
everything. Yeah, but I think this
What's
is
the
way more
one
important.
you found it the hardest to sell, or you still haven't sold?
I have a Lincoln 1970 Lincoln Continental suicide doors, and that one I'm actually really fond of. I had a 220S 1965 Mercedes, and that one I liked,
With
but
the
it wasn't
curved
convertible.
glass?
Yeah, and it was a sedan, so it wasn't convertible and no air conditioning. It kind of, I was like, okay, I'm okay with getting rid of this. It's hot, and this is California. I can't be driving around in that. It's really, really hot. So the Continental is something I'm okay with, just because in the inside it's actually much more functional, and it's really nice. But I'm gonna be selling that one too.
Well, Dom, this is something that really impresses me because a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, CEOs, are dreaming of that car they're going to buy when they make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You sold all your cars to make money,
Yeah.
which is really, really impressive. I mean, that shows that you have commitment, and that's really important.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think this is much more important than the future. This company is basically what I'm building towards. I've made money before, and I could probably do it again, but I'm trying to build something way bigger than I've ever done before.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to put everything in there, from credit cards to cars and everything. So I'll swipe my credit cards. I'll go 10,000 in debt, and I'll just go, okay, I'll sell the car, pay it off, and have whatever's left over,
Sure.
and continue funding.
But you've continued to grow. In other words, your team is 14/16 members. It's 14 plus you two.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're currently in launch labs. You're also in Tustin, so you're already expanding. I mean, you're
Yeah.
feeling that. Do we have any growth pains yet?
Nothing really. Honestly, what we're doing now is the only thing that we kind of struggle with is when you get too many people, especially on vested interest. The struggle is when you get money, who do you hire? You don't want to be
Right.
like, yeah, everyone loves it. We
Great
have
topic.
35 people.
Great topic.
And what do you do? Are you going to hire all of them? You can't. And so we always sit with our team and say, look, we're going to be honest with everyone here. If we raise money, just because we raise money doesn't mean we go out and just pay everyone. And so we all know, and I'm very fortunate for my team. I've seen so many different startups. Our team is a very passive team. They'll listen to what you say, and then they'll give you feedback. And they're not going to talk over you. They just listen. So
Right.
it's absolutely amazing. And so what I told them, I said, look, guys, if we raise money, let's say best case we raise $10 million. I said $10 million, that'll last us a long time, but we can't take that $10 million and just pay all of you guys $100,000 a year. Like, I don't even want to pay myself at all. I'm like, I want this money to last.
pretty noble.
And so what I told them, I said, look, if we raise $10 million, I'm not paying any of you guys a ton or myself at all until we hit revenue. Because
Right.
I'm not going to pay for mess ups or mistakes. I'm not going to be like, okay, we're paying everyone $80,000 a year, but now we have to pivot a little bit, and we're running that cost.
It's one of my favorite Shark Tanks, by the way. They offered one of the guests, if we give you this money, what are you going to spend it on? And the first thing he says is, I'm going to pay myself $250,000. And the guy's like, what?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't understand people who do that. I feel like if they're paying themselves, they know it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Or they're worried it's going to fail, and then that's an issue.
So confidence.
Yeah, I'd go 5 years. I mean, I'm in a fortunate position where I don't have to pay any bills. I'm living at home, and as long as I'm going to school too, my parents are all for it.
Sure.
And so I said, I'm going to suck this for everything I can. My parents are giving me a free space to live. I better take every single risk I possibly can in life, because I'm not going to die. Nothing's going to happen to me.
I mean, but what you demonstrate is you're demonstrating sacrifice, and
Yeah.
sacrifice is commitment as well. As you've sold all your classic cars, which I'm sure you had an attachment to. You're living at home, and I'm sure you prefer maybe to live in your own place.
Yeah.
And you have obviously paying yourself very little.
Yeah.
Supposedly. So let's look at the technology. Let's bring it up here, and so this is in.
This is in beta. This is an alpha, I'd say. We do have the updated version on the computers right now, and we're going to be updating. I just haven't updated on mine. So this is basically our CRM system, our tool that vendors can use to organize their business. So we've learned that a lot of these businesses, especially locally here in Orange County, they're basically these mom and pop shops.
Right.
There's some guy with a bunch of bounce houses in his garage, and
Right.
so what we set out to do is say, look, these people pretend they don't even know how to read, because we need to make it that easy for them to use.
I think everything should be that easy.
Of course. And so especially for someone who doesn't have a big business, right? They don't have time to learn something.
Sure.
They don't have people to teach them.
It needs to be almost click.
Yeah. And so what we
click.
said is it needs to be, and so we're still working on that. I'm kind of the type that's, I want to make it to the point where you look at it and you're like, I understand everything. So we're working on that. So basically right here what you see is a calendar system. So this calendar system obviously is going to let them see what they have ahead of them in terms of orders. So you'd click on a day and you can scroll down to see all these different orders for the day, right? Company event, birthday party, and so this is the company.
So those are actually I need to deliver
Yes.
at that date and time my product.
And everything's here, and we're going to make it so you can click this and you'll be able to see everything about the event.
And you have a master view, so this is actually all of the different vendors.
Yeah.
All in one. Okay.
Yeah. So this is just basically some beta. This is all just like dummy material.
Pre-populated, right.
Yeah. So what we'd say is you can go here to your services. Okay. So let's say you have a bounce house, and what these would do is be more specific. So it'd be like Princess Bounce House.
My sister's going to love this, by the way. You know, she bought her own bounce house.
See,
she rented it 4 times and then decided she was cheaper to buy it.
See, that's what we're at. I've already had every year we order 2, and I'm
Yeah.
getting to the point where I was like, I might as well buy one. And and actually it was really
cotton
funny.
candy machine,
Yeah, so
DJ.
different things like this. So bounce house, but again they'll be more specific.
Okay.
So it'll be the specific types of bounce houses you have and all of them. So you'd go here to the plus, and you can add your service, add a picture, add the cost, quantity of what you have. So when you go to book something, we'll take it out of your quantity.
Okay.
So when you go to book another thing, if you book it at the same day, it won't be there for you to double book.
Okay.
So you'd hit the plus and
So
say
resource limited, so to
yeah.
speak. Yep.
So you'd hit the plus and say, okay, let's pick a date for the party. So you're on the phone with someone, the customer says, I want to plan a party, and then the first thing you say is, okay, so what day is it? Because I need to know what I have available.
All right,
and
the
they'll
12th,
say,
let's say the 12th.
The 12th, so I'll click the 12th, and then I'll say, okay, what time does it start? Let's say it's 10:30.
Right.
And then what time does it end? It ends, at
2:30.
2:30, let's say. And you hit next. So now I can see what's available at that time.
This is all like bookable.
Yeah,
Like
so this is all bookable, and what you would do is you'd be able to click the ones you want, whether one or multiple, and then you'd hit the plus button right here, and then you can start adding in all the details about the event. So the address, you can even add more of things just in case at the last minute they want to add stuff. Customer name, their additional information,
and
maybe
then
notes.
as the customer, as the customer is not necessarily paying, are they paying for the service through your app?
So this is what's unique about us, and this is what I think is really important. So you have the app, and this app is specifically for the vendors. Now, what we wanted to do is not take away any business from these vendors, and we're okay with them getting business from other platforms.
Okay.
It'll make it a lot easier to get them on board with us, and almost all of them that we've talked to are on multiple platforms.
Right.
And that allows us to be really confident when we go out there to start selling this, is because they're okay with signing up. They're trying to make money, and if you're going to make them more money, they're on board, as long as they don't really have to pay up front. So what we said is, okay, here's an app, and if you get a call from Yelp, feel free to book it on here. No problem. So this will be launching in the next 2 weeks, and they'll be able to start using it now. So we won't be getting customers to them for a while till we build out the other side of this platform, but they'll be able to start using our technology right now.
As a CRM.
As a CRM,
so that's the first
yeah.
fast track, that's the 6 months, but eventually you're going to go into the consumer space.
Correct.
So you can have a full end-to-end solution.
Yeah, and I think it's important, especially for investors on our end, to say, look, we have 1,800 vendors, right, if we were to say something like that. And I think that goes to show a lot more easier. I always tell people, I go, bringing customers to your website's easy. You can pay to have that happen. Finding businesses when they're working, it's harder to market to them. It's really hard to find out who owns a bounce house company. I don't. Where do I even market? I've been marketing
or how many
for so
bounce
long.
houses they have available.
Yeah, you have no idea, and it's almost impossible to do that. It's costly. So we said, okay, let's do the hard part first. Let's get all these vendors on board, because again, we don't want customers to come to the website and be like, you have one bounce house, and we're gonna look like a bad product.
So in reality, what you're delivering to them initially is convenience.
Yes.
We're going to give you something first.
Yeah.
And actually, that to me is a very good point, and something that you're going to be successful with. Is people always think, what am I going to get from my customer?
Yeah.
How am I going to make money from my customer? Well, maybe it's more important that you give first.
Yeah.
And then you will receive. So
Yeah.
I think that's what you've done here, and that's what obviously you're going to do long term.
Yeah, and it's really important. So you'll have your profile. We got to fix these like white spots, but you'll have your profile and all your information and your calendar, and then you can even view it in a list form, so you can just kind of see in a really simple form what you have ahead of you.
All calendarized and everything.
All calendarized, and it
organized.
allows it. And we're building this part right here. It says events, but we're changing this, and we're going to be able to actually manage your employees.
Like freelancers even.
Yeah, so let's say you have a bounce house company and you have 2 drivers.
Right.
You'll be able to actually get the order and assign it to someone. And it'll go to their phone and say, John, you have an order to fulfill.
So you know when you have to deliver it, what's the
Yes.
address, and everything, like no excuses.
Yeah, and so basically you can keep track, and we're going to update to the point where you'll have live tracking on your employees. Then we'll update to where the customer might have live tracking on the employees, and you'll kind of know. This will be like your Uber is coming, but with your bounce house.
Wow.
Because if your Uber doesn't show up, not a big deal. But if your bounce house doesn't show up on your birthday
Kids are
party,
screaming.
your kids are screaming, and that's really important. And that actually brings us to another issue: is what happens when people don't show up. And what we decided is quality is really important, and showing up is so important. And so investors always say they want to tear us apart on this. They go, well, what happens if someone doesn't show up? And I said, well, what happens if they normally don't show up and you ordered from Craigslist? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. So if we're bringing you anything beyond nothing, it's better than nothing.
It's true.
And so what we said is, well, what we're going to do is, one, we're going to refund your money. Two, we can even possibly give you a credit depending on what happened. And then three, we can find people in your area that are ready to deliver. So if a guy's sitting on a bounce house and you know he's not going to have an order in the next 5 minutes, and we get a ping and go, hey, $60 right now, you deliver this within the hour.
Right. So incentivize.
Incentivize.
Yeah,
And it allows people to get rid of that inventory that's just sitting, because when you're sitting on the day, all that inventory is wasted. So when you get a ping that says, first one to click yes, Princess Bounce House in this area, they need it in an hour, and we send it to them.
I love it. So Dominic, how do people find you right now? This is downloadable?
This is on our phones. It'll be downloadable in about a week and a half. This will allow all the vendors, so anyone who owns different types of companies, bounce houses, they can go online and they'll be able to download this in about 2 weeks.
And then your website?
Website's Vendyr.com. That'll be up in about a week.
VENDYR.com.
Yeah. And we're going to allow for 2 different sides. So again, we want to be prepared. So we're allowing customers to sign up and kind of get updates, as well as vendors to sign up and get the app.
Okay.
So we're allowing right off the bat, we can start taking in pre-orders or taking in customers that are
So if
ready.
you're a small business and you've got a bounce house or cotton candy machine or magician, get on to Vendyr.com, provide your email, get on the list, and get started. This is Dominic Milan with Vendyr, and this is a wrap for myStartUp.Live in the beginning of August.